And we are live. So I am so excited to be able to talk to both of you. So I'll do a little intro as people are coming in. Like I posted on my Substack yesterday, I think. I don't know. Time is, every time one of these things happens, time becomes immaterial, and I'm not sure what day it is. But I made a post that this wasn't how we wanted to launch the BAM Latin America segment that we're going to be working on with our guest Arturo Dominguez, who I'm sure lots of people on Substack know about your work in the history and socio-political climate of Latin America, and Elizabeth Raven, who is in Caracas right now, a lifelong native Venezuelan, a university professor, architect, and I've been learning so very much from Elizabeth. But what we at BAM wanted to do, and our intent and intention with BAM Latin America, is to do exactly this, which is to platform voices of Latin America so that we don't have yet another Caucasian filter take on what's happening right now. It's very, very, very important. And I can't stress enough how important it is that we are holding our base in reality and facts and not narratives that have been sold to us by decades of propaganda. I'm just learning how much my education on Central and South America was inadequate, and a lot of it was flat out false. It doesn't bear up to the weight of actual reality and facts. I'm learning through the books and articles that former CIA agents have written over the past 40 years. Once they leave the CIA service, they are talking, they write books, they write articles, they have podcasts, and they are telling us the reality of how much the CIA has meddled in South American affairs and how that informs geopolitical affairs to this day. So this is the point of BAM Latin America, to amplify the voices that are going to cut through a lot of that old propaganda, that old noise, and give us actual facts. So I want to welcome both of you. I am so proud to be bringing you on to BAM in this new segment. And I'd like each one of you to introduce yourself, because you can do it better than I ever could.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. Arturo Dominguez. I write the Decolonized Journalism newsletter. Got hundreds of articles been published over the last decade and a half or so. A lot of it focusing on Latin America, and the ties to immigration, and a lot of how our systemic issues are pretty much all tied together. But big focus on Latin America.
All right, I'm so glad you're here, Elizabeth.
Okay, well, I'm Elizabeth. Okay, the last one. Well, I live in Caracas. I've been living. I would like to say this last event, but this goes like 20 something years ago because I'm old enough. So I just put in Substack some of the things that I watched and listened. Today, just before this, I went to, make a round around. I went to the downtown, and I wanted to have information for you, but you can ask me whatever you want. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think what we're looking for in this moment, what is driving a lot of narrative here in the U.S. is concerning to those of us who I'm just beginning to learn, and Arturo's been pounding the drum on this for years, is that we're seeing a lot of disturbing narrative that because Maduro was a violent dictator, that this is somehow a justified overthrow of a democratic election, a democratically elected leader of a sovereign nation. So can you speak to who Maduro is, how he came to power, how he is perceived within, because I'm going to preface this by saying that some of the things we've been hearing are exact echoes of how the far right here spoke about Joe Biden. So they said that Joe Biden stole the last election. He shouldn't have been president. Donald Trump was the real president. There were people here in America that the entire 4 years said, Donald Trump is my president. That's who I voted for, and he won the election. And so a lot of the narrative that I'm hearing right now is exactly what could also be applied to Joe Biden, according to the far right here in America. They said that he was a dictator. They said that he took political prisoners. They said that January 6th attackers were political prisoners. When they were tried in our courts, they were found to be guilty. There was overwhelming evidence. Several of them actually pleaded guilty. They were proud to plead guilty. And then later said that they were political prisoners. Steve Bannon claimed that he himself was a political prisoner. So a lot of the narrative that we're hearing about Maduro can quite easily be applied to our presidents here. And so why would it be not okay for another nation to come in and unseat our president according to this logic? So how would you describe how Venezuelans feel about Maduro? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've got the same type of dichotomy that we have here in America. You've got far left, far right. You have supporters on both sides. So, go into that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's pretty much the same, but for me, there is a little difference, and that is that we have that narrative here too. The far right, they've been accusing first Chavez and then Maduro about stealing elections, and that's simply not true. I can explain to you how is the system of election here. Next time we can talk about it. But he was our what you call it, like Secretary of Exterior or something, for 7 years with Chavez, and Chavez named him vice president, probably because he knew he was going to die. He had a very aggressive cancer, so he didn't even ask for this. Maduro didn't want to be a president, but it was like somebody that Chavez trusted a lot, and he just went to elections. It wasn't like he could have say, okay, Chavez died, and now I will be here, and I'm gonna be delaying this, like indefinitely. No, in a month, like our constitution says, he went to election. It was a closed election, because don't forget that Chavez, I am Chavez, we were in more. We participated in all that massive manifestation of people going to El Cuartel de la Montaña to get him, resting there. I went with my song, we cried. There were millions of people in line trying to see Chavez before he, well, actually, you can see him. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they destroyed that. I think they couldn't, but anyway. Okay, so, but this is not a simple story. It's very complex. It's something like who is first, the hen or the egg? Because since Chavez, they have had so many attacks from the right, economically attacks, military attacks. Chavez had a coup very recently after he was in power, and there has been a lot of actions trying to take him out of power by force. And of course, when you're attacked, you react. So after that, there's been like attacks from one side, reacts from the other one, attacks from one side, reactions from the other one. And I'm not gonna tell you that there are not some prisoners, but to call them political, I mean political prisoners, that what you call them?
Right.
I guess so. Okay. It's a stretch, you know? We had very violent events in Venezuela, nothing close to what you've had this year. Very violent. Okay. In the first one at 2014, I was in treatment for cancer, and I had to go to my chemotherapy to listen, another old and young, mostly old ladies talking about how proud they were that their sons were making Molotovs to go to the, manifestations and threw them to the guards. We had people killed because there were, you know, between one tree to another one, there were wires, and the people in motorcycles, they were degollados. I don't know, they were
Decapitated.
killed,
Right.
decapitated. Yeah.
Mhm.
My husband, he was going through a street trying to take my uncle to some place, his house, and they had to stop to take everything out of the street to go, and continue. And people from the buildings were throwing Molotovs
So
to the
just to
car.
clarify, this is on behalf of the opposition, the far right opposition.
Yeah, and if you tell me that those are political prisoners, okay, they are criminals.
Right.
Who happens to do that for political reasons. But it's
Yeah, right. We saw the same thing here after January 6th, where these
Right.
people attacked the Capitol building. They literally killed a Capitol police officer and severely wounded several others. And when they were arrested and tried, and like I said, some even pled guilty because they were proud of their actions, they called themselves political prisoners. So
yeah,
likewise, so this is what I'm hearing, is that
yeah,
something that disturbs me about a lot of the narrative that's happening right now is that it's like Venezuela is a monolith, which is a white supremacist concept, that all of Venezuela is exactly the same. All of those people that live
not
there
at all.
believe the exact same thing. They fall on the same side ideologically, and that's absurd. You're your own sovereign nation. Of course you're not a monolith. Of course you're going to have people who believe different things politically and are on different sides of the political aisle. And I think that we are discounting and ignoring the violent activities of the far right opposition there. I saw Arturo. Can you talk about didn't you share earlier about the race-based violence there?
Yeah, you
Oh,
know
yeah, yeah,
that's a big issue, and you hear a lot of stuff regarding, like, you'll hear people say only the poor in Venezuela support the current government, and then in the same breath they tell you 80% of the country's poor. So there's a lot of narratives out there that don't make sense. But when you get into the racial aspect of what is happening in Venezuela, like, a lot of people are Chavistas because the Venezuelan constitution that came in under Chavez codified rights for Black and Indigenous Venezuelans. And in large part, one of Maria Corina Machado's goals is to eliminate the Constitution based on largely on those rights. A lot of people, the white Venezuelans, think it's unfair. They almost treating it like DEI, like we treated DEI here. And frankly, that's where a lot of the government support comes from, is because I've seen interviews throughout various outlets where they go into the poorest communities in Venezuela, and they'll talk to a black Venezuelan, and he'll be like, he was like, sure, things are rough, but at least we have representation, we have rights, we're seen, and that's a big thing. So it's like in Cuba, people may not like their president, but they're not necessarily interested in overthrowing their government, getting involved in a civil war, destabilizing the countries further. They want more reform type of activity from their government. And that's where you see a lot of similarities between Venezuela and Cuba is when you talk to people there like Elizabeth, and they give you the context of what life is like on the ground, regardless of what you think of Maduro or anybody else. It's not our position. It shouldn't be our position as
Right.
outsiders to say he needs to go. It's not. It's not our thing. It's not our right. So yeah, I think there's a lot of really race-based things that are involved there. There were the lynchings when they tried to
Yeah.
install Guaido. And after the last election, when they announced Maduro was the winner, the opposition party, supporters of the opposition party, um, were out tumbling, monuments to indigenous leaders. If I'm not mistaken, 2 indigenous mayors were killed. I mean, there was a lot of targeting of Chavistas. So to say that
Yeah.
Maduro threw peaceful protesters into jail, like we said, it's just not true. They're not political prisoners. Some of these people are murderers. So yeah, there's a lot of context that gets left on the table in these discussions.
Yeah. Uh, for example, we have like cycles of violence. So, yeah, in the moment, if you have like 1,000 people on the streets, maybe you'll have 100 or 1,000 even uh, people taken, arrested. And then there is an investigation, and most of them are free, you know. And there are a lot of things that about for me words are important. So they just say things like this guy is disappeared, the government
Yeah.
disappeared him. He didn't disappear, he's just on jail. There is a defense lawyer, there is a, the process is very similar to yours, only we don't have a jury. But in any case, uh, actually, everybody knows where the people are, but they call them disappeared people and they put them on the list. And then they say, oh, all these people, even though they are home, they never get
Oh,
out
yeah.
of the list. It's like it's a list, it's an accumulation of 27 years. So the list, of course, has to be big because, people get in and out of the process, the legal process. Okay. And so we have a lot of that here. Uh, there is authoritarianism. I'm not saying there is not. Okay. There is accumulation of power. I'm not saying that there is not either. But as I told you, this is a process. It's like they can't put in jail Guaido or Machado or the leaders. Maybe if that would have been possible, then some things could change. They only can like touch middle, people, because if not, they immediately are martyrs, and we don't want martyrs here. Okay.
Right.
It happened once with Capriles, but twice. Capriles and Leopoldo Lopez, they were in jail, but there was a coup. Okay. So it's
Right.
not like somebody has to go because because you could try to not to do it, because then you don't made the media excuses to, use that narrative. But on the other hand, you have Chavez asking for justice. So somebody has to go to jail. Somebody
Right.
has to be in prison because, if not, that's a problem. And myself,
And I'd like
yeah,
to interject here that a lot of what's gone on here in America over the past 11 months has also been called a coup. And our Supreme Court has now given the executive branch almost unilateral power. He can do essentially whatever he wants with impunity. And so, by the same exact, every single talking point that I've heard against Maduro and his regime could literally be used word for word against Donald Trump and his regime. So I'm
yeah,
struggling to find what the difference is there that
okay,
would not provide a way for somebody else to come into America and unseat Donald Trump.
okay. I think the not a small difference. I mean, the big difference for me is that it's not the same when you say, microphone thing. Oh, I'm being attacked, so I have to do this. I'm protecting myself. Everybody's against me after, a year, governing the country, than, constantly violent coups, attacks, every kind of attacks. We had people who died because of the U.S. sanctions, and those sanctions were called by Maria Corina, Leopoldo Lopez, Juan Guaido, and Julio Borges, and all of them. And people died in hospitals. Those are not my numbers. The United Nations, they have reports. There are private reports, and that's not a small thing. So it's like I was talking to my son yesterday, and it's like if you have a big attack, you have a big reaction. Okay, sometimes the reaction ends being too much, so then you go back. But in the moment, the reaction is there, and that of course that can be seen as authoritarianism. Well, that's a difficult word for me to pronounce. And so yes, when we have, okay, when they selected the way of abstentionism, they lost a lot of power. Okay, and of course you should be wise and use the power in a fair way or whatever. But the government has the power, so then they make laws. So anti-hate crimes laws, or whatever they think they have to do to protect people from things that happened in the past. And of course, those things tends to go, out of the right way, because some people don't use it correctly. So there may be cases where it wasn't hate crime, but was interpreted like that. Yeah, and that can be a political attack, of course. Okay, I'm not saying that everybody's guilty. No, some probably are not. And it's not like I want to have them in prison just because I want to. Our system is very, very slow. When you talk to justice, uh, um, I think yours too. Okay, I've
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
experienced it firsthand from a friend whose son lives there, and so once you get detained, it will happen that there is a process very slow to get out. Okay, so in the meantime, yes, you are a prisoner. Yes, you are somebody who can be innocent and stay in prison until the process
Right.
ends. And I don't like that, but it's not like
Right. That's the nature of any type of justice system,
Right.
though, is that it's going to take time. I think the deportations here have been the fastest our justice system has moved since its inception.
yeah,
I mean, getting people in and out of court in the same day to a waiting ICE vehicle is the fastest that any of our justice system has ever moved. So I want to switch lanes just a little bit, because I found something that you posted. You posted a picture that you said, I believe your sister-in-law sent, of the IVIC, which is the Scientific Research Center for Venezuela, was struck during this attack. And I haven't seen anybody else talk about that. And I did a little bit of preliminary digging, but I haven't had a lot of time to look into what the IVIC is studying right now and researching, and why, if we were across town picking up Maduro, how did this strike happen at IVIC? Do you think it was a targeted thing? And what do you think of that?
no, there's people saying, okay, they attack that because right wing don't want, science to progress. No, it's nothing like that. It happened because that institution is in the mountain, on the mountain, a high mountain, and there are a lot of communication towers. So they were attacking the towers. Because that's the first thing they did. There are a lot of communication centers, towers around, and they attack that first. They don't want people, telling Maduro they're coming or whatever they knew. Right. And so they attacked that because of the towers. But, they, destroy some things around, because that's not
okay.
Although Trump says that it's like chirurgical, you have that word. It was like a targeted, very precise. No, it's not like that, because we have residential areas destroyed, and we have houses or buildings that had nothing to do with that, weren't even near a good target, if that exists, and they were attacked. So far, we're about to have more than 80 people died, and a lot of injured, and of course, a lot of soldiers. I yesterday published a list, and I cried when I received that, because I don't have to see the pictures. I know they are young people between 20 and 25 years, or even less, okay? Because of the ID numbers, as I told yesterday. And, they were massacred. Yeah, and now they are saying that it was in self-defense, because these kids, of course, they see an helicopter trying to get Maduro, and they oppose it, and they are in the middle. They try to, defend themselves. They weren't even defending themselves, because they could have run, and they were defending the place. That's what you come from the military. That's what they learn to do. That's their goal. And so they stopped the helicopter, and then the helicopter went other place, but they went back, and then they decided to kill the kids.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's a very difficult situation because the, I am very tempted to send the horrible, gruesome pictures, as Arturo said yesterday, of the people killed to my, my friends from high school or college, so they stop celebrating
Mm.
because there's nothing to celebrate. And it's
Right.
very funny because, yeah, as I said, I started seeing people saying, "Hey, what? So the United States will gonna run the country? Oh, so that's right. I thought we were going to elect somebody in a month or something,
Yeah.
and they've been told that nobody died, and they don't believe when it's better not to believe because it's very difficult
Right.
to celebrate dead people. But it happened, and it has happened a lot of times. Only this time was the United States directly coming here and taking the president and bombing the city. Before the United States was like behind the thing, they were financing the coups, all of them, and Chavez was taken by opposition people, okay, in a private plane, and it wasn't directly the United States, even though they were behind, even though they immediately accepted the new president, Pedro Carmona, who wasn't even a candidate in any election before or after
Right.
that. And yeah, and that goes to this. It doesn't matter if Maduro is a dictator, okay? It's like it's our dictator. We need to take him out if we want. It's
Right.
not the United States, this dictator, because now, okay, now we have the permission to go and take Trump. I wish
Right.
we could.
I'll refrain from comment about
Yeah.
my desire to you to do that. But so what do you see as the immediate, like, what is the mood on the ground, especially in Caracas? What are people thinking about the immediate future? I'm talking like 2 weeks to a month out. What's happening? Is there a general support for the vice president who has assumed?
Well, yeah, the- I can't say everybody, but uh, I, I haven't had polls. Maybe in a week
Right.
we will have, but I'm pretty sure that 70% of the people didn't like Trump's uh, allocution, whatever he said. I think it was a mistake. I don't know. If it is, I welcome it because people are at this time mostly supporting the the government, okay, without Nicolas, okay. I can tell you that yesterday there were people all around Venezuela in every every town. We have Bolivar Square in every town of the country, and they were there and they were enraged like I was the first day.
Right.
And yeah, and they stayed there since the day it happened until yesterday. They made a vigil in every town. Of course, they were supporters of Maduro, but it's not like we had, like the opposite side with fireworks or, demonstrations. They were home. They didn't say anything. They didn't went anywhere, and they could, but they didn't. Okay, usually they do. So that tells me, this is my opinion, that's not the truth, that they're not sure that they want this, what is happening. They didn't like very much Trump press conference, okay? And but they're just there waiting, okay, because they don't know what to do. Of course, there are the extremists, and they are the from Miami.
Yeah.
There are journalists feeding them. This, like, the first day they didn't have an explanation of what was happening, but then some journalists, they fabricated something to put together things that they couldn't understand, and so they are trying to, you know go back to their delusional thoughts about what happened and how Trump is a genius, and that all that he did was perfect. And and now, for example, they're saying, oh no, Trump was the one that put Delcy Rodriguez there. And I only can laugh because that's the Constitution, okay? We cannot put another person. It's the vice president. That's it, okay?
Right.
And it's not like they named her because that happens like the same night, and now she's the vice president, and then she's the president in charge. No, she's been the vice president for years. No?
Yeah.
So it was her. And we have a line where, like you have, I think it's even the same. It's first the president, and if there is not,
Right.
I'm sorry, vice
Right.
president, and if not, is the head of the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Same thing. Yeah.
And yes,
No, it's the same thing here.
Yep.
okay, yeah, that's what I've read.
Yeah.
So, and I think nobody knows, because actually we don't know what happened. Now there are like rumors. It happens everywhere, and especially the opposition are trying to divide the Maduro's followers,
Right.
and they're trying to say that she's a traitor and she's the one who said
Yeah.
that where Maduro was, and the CIA doesn't need Delcy to do that.
Right.
I don't know if you watch it, but there was an interview. Oh no, Arturo, he put it, the last day of the year, the 31st,
Oh yeah, the interview.
and he was driving a car around the city. How difficult is for the CIA to follow him?
Right. Right.
I think it was reckless, but he is reckless, and I don't think the United States needed, somebody to, do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I found that interview interesting because I can't think off the top of my head of any other dictator that would just get in their car and drive
Right.
around their capital city without a huge security detail, without clearing the streets, because people would be trying to kill them if they were this cruel, despotic, dictator. Then they wouldn't be able to travel freely. And dictators in the past have not traveled freely in their countries. They surround themselves. We have
No.
one building a bunker, calling it a ballroom. So they surround themselves with security because they know they are so deeply disliked and people are trying to kill them all the time if given the opportunity. So seeing that interview at the end of the year was pretty enlightening to me, even though I didn't understand all of it because of the language barrier. But it was clear that this is a guy that feels comfortable enough in his capital city to go out walking and getting in his car and driving around without a big security detail. So that doesn't exactly scream despot or dictator to
Right.
me.
Yeah, I say that I've been saying that all the time, that you see him in large crowds, very little security detail, and
Yeah.
he's not afraid of his people, and then you see them preparing to defend the country and he's handing civilian guns. Like, does a
Right.
dictator do that if he's afraid of his people? Like, so many things just don't add up in the narratives that they present here in the US. And I find it kind of astonishing that people fall for it. Like, even the AP was posting clips of him dancing or doing something at an event for kids or something like that, and they're, in a sense, they're kind of mocking him. And I'm like, what's funny about that? How do people not see that he's out there, not afraid of his people? And it just blows me away that people fall for the funny part and ignore the fact that he's out there not worried at all.
Right.
And like Elizabeth was saying, like they didn't need to know where he was because he was out in the public. He was at the presidential palace when they took him. Like, he wasn't in some bunker, like, in the mountains, like a dictator would be in this given situation. We found Saddam Hussein in a hole, for example.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find Maduro
Bin
in a
Laden in a
hole.
cave.
Right. And then you see him even in handcuffs, and he's telling the agents Happy New Year, and he's smiling, and he's always, even when he was
Yeah,
talking, right,
yes, like this. Oh,
even when he's talking trash, he does it in a very lighthearted, comedy sort of way. And like, he's always seems to be unbothered. And in a propaganda war, that was really working against the United States, with him,
Yes.
releasing a rap song and dancing around with kids, and all these things. Like, that's really working against the United States. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
it was
That's what I'm trying to do here, because in order for us to have the greater conversation about what we just did to Venezuela, we have to get to the root of the honest base of what's reality here.
right.
And with 90% of our media outlets just sort of mindlessly repeating that he was a violent dictator, we have to first examine that and get to the heart of reality there, that if we are going to call him a violent dictator, then we have to call Donald Trump a violent dictator, because the actions that they're using to justify that, classification are exactly what the Trump regime is doing, almost bar for bar. So we have to be able to have the honest narrative. So I want to respect both of your times, and we're a little past one. So I want to ask you, first of all, are you okay? Are you mentally, emotionally, and physically okay?
oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm not listening what you're saying. I mean, I listen, but I can't understand. So there's something like echo, or
Oh, can you hear me now?
well, not actually very good. Oh, I understand. I know you're talking. I don't understand the words.
She was asking if you're okay, si todo está bien.
No. Oh, okay. No, I
Todavía no?
can't.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it's my signal. I
Maybe.
don't like can do anything about it. But let me tell my Oscar, apaga tu señal. Okay, I'm telling my husband to turn up the Wi-Fi on his, laptop and the telephone, so maybe it gets better.
Get off the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Okay, are we coming through now?
It's better.
Let's see.
She was asking you if you're okay physically, mentally, with everything that happened.
Yeah, I'm okay physically. I'm not absolutely okay mentally, but I'm better today because I just went around and I'm gonna put pictures and videos after this. I wanted to do that, because I said I was going to research by myself. And around my house, the neighborhood is already open, all the restaurants, all the small businesses. But then we decided to go to downtown, and all the way around there is a lot of traffic, and every stores were open in downtown, and we couldn't go to the Congress where people are because it is protected. The National Guard is protecting, because things like that have been sabotaged in the past. Okay, so they were, now probably they did it already. They were going to name a president temporal or in charge, or I don't know the name in English, uh, uh, Delcy Rodriguez, and then they were going to have, the meeting to decide what to do, or what to I we're waiting for uh like we call it comunicado. I don't know, like a press release
Right.
from the Congress to know what's their position, because there is opposition there. So I want to listen to them. We have a TV channel because the sessions are open, so you can just watch them.
Right.
I'm gonna do that after, and I'm I feel better now because I ask people around, "Hey, how are you? How are things here? How do you feel?" And they were fine. Okay, they were fine. Everybody is thinking about what's next, and nobody knows what's
Right.
next. Only the government or Trump or I don't know who. Because even the deaths, we don't have a number. We don't, because that's not that easy. You have to take all those people to the morgue. You have to make a pathological exam, and they need to assess all the destruction. It's an investigation,
Right.
and they have to do a lot of things in the meantime, because this didn't end. Oh, the menace is there.
Mm.
Trump already said he had a second and a third attack prepared. So
Right.
what we know that Delcy is a good negotiator. She's always been, and her brother too. But Trump's not so rational. So I don't know if you can negotiate with him. So maybe she will say no. We won't give you
Yeah.
all the contracts for free, all or middle. I can think about the government breaking relationships with China, for example. They have
Right.
a lot of investments here. There are
Mhm.
contracts signed. So that's not going to happen. And Trump will ask for that. So nobody knows, because as soon as she says no, well, maybe we have the second attack.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
says it will be worse, and it can, because he does that. We're just waiting for the United Nations Security Council meeting now or today. I don't know if they already met. That usually is only words and nothing happens. But well, the international reaction hasn't been in favor of Trump,
Mm-mm.
Right.
because not because they like us or because they like Maduro. They
Right.
know that if this succeeds, so they can go home and just let Trump
Right.
manage all the the countries in South America, even Europe, they could do that. So
Right. So I'm looking forward to you sharing some of these pictures, and I would never ask you to share some of the pictures you were talking about earlier, but there is a narrative out there that that Venezuelans must have wanted this because they didn't fight back. That our military was able to just go in and pluck
yeah,
Maduro up and go on about. And so it was only right before I got on this live that I read someone who was informing us that the word they used for what happened to his personal security detail was a massacre. They just butchered them.
yeah, it was, and all the things that Maduro said and the government before about, the raiders, from China at all the aircraft. Well, that was true, but it was a bluff. Yeah. They were both bluffing, and of course, Venezuela wasn't waiting to this. They thought Trump wouldn't dare. Okay.
Right.
Because if they dare, this would have happened. I've listened to those rumors too, and I only can laugh because we can't fight military with the United States. Iran, they are very strong militarily,
Right.
and it happened when it happened when Trump attacked them some months ago. And and people could say, but what happened with the air defense? What happened? Okay, of all the lies Trump said, the only one that wasn't a lie is that they are the strongest military, country, and that it was a perfect attack. Yes, it was. It was. Of course, it was. We didn't expect anything different. Okay, we were prepared to the street fight, not that fight. With drones and helicopters and aircraft.
Right.
There were 150 airplanes in Venezuela when this happened.
Wow.
150. You know what? How many is that? Can we defend from that? No, we can't. We can't. These soldiers, it breaks my heart because they were fighting this and they knew they were going to die. And, but that's like their state of mind. We are heroes. We have to protect our country until the end with our lives. That's why I don't like, wars and military. I would like that I was banned from the world because we don't want heroes, not dead heroes.
Exactly.
And,
nobody wants dead heroes. We don't want. Now we're looking at a situation where I've got two adult sons who are draft age, and we're looking at an extremely unpopular invasion here. Even I would wager to say that even Americans who think this was maybe the right thing to do to unseat Maduro, they still aren't lining up to sign their kids up to go into a full-on land invasion and occupation of Venezuela, to run Venezuela and work oil fields. And nobody here wants that. In fact, one of the tenets that Trump ran on was not starting any more foreign wars. So I'm sort of flabbergasted that his own party is even supporting this, considering that was such a big campaign promise that he made. So we are pulling up on close to an hour. I'm so sorry I was late. All my technological problems here. But we are going to schedule another live. We're going to keep this conversation going so you can keep sharing your thoughts and your experiences on the ground in Caracas as all of this is unfolding. And I'm just so grateful that you are sharing your time and knowledge and experience with us to give us a really authentic viewpoint. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm honored. I 2 months ago I wouldn't think that I could be doing this. It was
Right.
very difficult for me, to have things to say and nobody to say. And now I'm retired as a professor, so I don't even have my students.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. I
Yeah.
want everybody to, oh, I see we're smashing hearts. That's good. Keep smashing hearts. And everyone should go and follow and subscribe to Elizabeth Raven. She's going to be,
Thank you.
she's already been providing so much information
Yeah.
and photos and social media posts from Venezuela, which I think is really important to see the tone and tenor of what's actually going on. That's what we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at reality and the fact-based narrative of what's actually unfolding, the history that has led us to this moment. Thank you so much, Arturo. If you guys have not subscribed to Arturo, I don't know what you're doing or what you've been sleeping on, but you should have been on that already. He provides such a valuable perspective from Latin American history and current events, and his family is also wrapped up in this, which provides that true personal nuance, because we're talking about geopolitical issues, but at the heart of it, it's people that it impacts. And we need to be hearing from actual people, not another government spokesman, not another State Department fucking propaganda spin. We need to be hearing from people because this is who actually gets impacted. This is who's actually voting. This is who's actually living through these decisions that are being made by these powerful, political players. So I appreciate both of you so much. We're going to be sending out a recap of this conversation, and I'm going to schedule both of you to do this again. And I appreciate you
Awesome.
so much. I cannot thank you enough for giving us this perspective. You're educating me in every conversation, and we should all be looking to get educated so we can be empowered, because you can't be empowered to act if you don't know the truth. So
Right.
both of you are
Of course.
giving us the truth. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks to you
All right.
both. We'll see you.
And I will see you again next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't know